Welcome everyone to the 18th Annual Tallgrass Film Festival. Thank you sponsors, and thank you to our viewers who are joining us virtually. If you're enjoying yourself, let everyone know on Facebook and Instagram, and tag us at Tallgrass Film and hashtag Tallgrass 2020. Welcome Awaken director and writer, Lena Pehakdar.
Pendarker.
Pendarker.
Better, but Pendarker.
Pendarker. Okay. So, first of all, please tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, I am a writer-director. I previously in 2018 or 2017, I had a feature that was at Tallgrass called 20 Weeks. And it was so fun to come to the festival and experience it in person. An amazing festival that really supports its filmmakers. So yeah, it's wonderful to come back with a short and screen it virtually, although I will miss all the awesome parties that you guys normally have.
We'll have it all now virtually, but it's still, it misses it.
I know there was like an awesome party where there were like cocktails and tacos and
Mhm.
it was so much fun.
Oh my gosh, it was the best. So, how was this experience making this short film different from your other film experiences?
Um, Coming off of a feature, I mean, I think it was nice to make something that was smaller, to be honest, like to make something that was going to shoot in 3 days, I had a lot of time to prepare and organize for every little detail. And so, it's an intense topic and that was difficult, but I knew how to approach it because my other film, 20 Weeks, was also about a very difficult subject matter. And so I really knew how to approach it well. And I took the actors out to lunch for 2 hours and we talked about it. And then we were all very comfortable by the time we got to set. So that was really nice.
So, what kind of movies and films have that you like, and how did you translate that into this short film, or did you?
Um, no, I mean, since making my feature, I have been going on a lot of meetings for television directing work. And I think, my previous film was very much like loose, like very handheld and very cameras moving. And with this film, I decided to go for a much more kind of clean aesthetic where we're on tripod all the time. There's dollies. It's much more kind of structured type of movement like you might see in some TV shows. So and I had an actress, Parminder Nagra, who is known for her work in Bend It Like Beckham and a lot of television. And, it was great just to work with her and someone of her caliber. She's a phenomenal actor. And I think being able to have something where we were a little bit more, the camera was much more intentional was really great. So, yeah.
How did you make the decision to make it more intentional? What led you to that decision?
I kind of wanted to go for something. I mean, 20 Weeks has a really beautiful style to it, I think, because it's very organic and handheld, but I wanted to go for something that was um, a little bit more kind of clean and high style. We used an anamorphic lens. The color palette was very specific, like these blues. And I mean, I tend to have very specific color palettes in all my films, but um, I felt like the subject matter too, I wanted it to be about this woman who was very structured in her life. Like she's a very accomplished um, person in a way. Like she's on the outside, like she's a very successful businesswoman. She has a family, a beautiful home, and it's a bit about the outer trappings of living the successful American dream. Her family's achieved that, but she on the inside is really struggling. Her marriage is crumbling. Her relationship with her kid is just okay. She's having an affair at work and she's trying to care for her mother amidst all this, and her mother is her main support system and she's lost her. So I think the aesthetic was really dictated by the character, who is a very structured, very organized, sort of neat person.
So, what is the story behind the story?
Yeah, I mean, my mother-in-law has Alzheimer's, and it's obviously very hard to watch a loved one go through this disease. It's very difficult. And to have your mother there, I always think about my husband, your mother there, but she's not really there. It's a very strange feeling, that she can't remember the things she cooked your whole life and the tiny memories from when you were a child. And I really wanted to just imagine a moment and my mother-in-law has these moments where she remembers things from the extreme past, like from when she was a child growing up in India. And I really just wanted to have a moment where this character just remembers something from a long time ago that opens something up in her daughter.
So you were talking earlier about all the different lighting palettes and the lenses you used. How did you figure out which ones you wanted to do?
I mean, I knew that I wanted to use I've always wanted to experiment on the anamorphic lens. It's a really beautiful kind of look that you can get. It's a little more of a high style kind of look. And um, I just sort of had that in mind. And I had this kind of vision of the ocean and how I wanted to do that. And the blues kind of complemented that. I always often usually have like a clear vision of how I want to do things. And then I'm able to kind of go from there. I think about the character and the story and what I want it to feel like, though.
So why did you choose the ocean as a central point?
Um, yeah, I don't know. It's like a very it's kind of nature at its best, I guess. You know, you're feeling this sort of like openness, and I think the ocean in some ways does open up things for people. You know, it makes them feel safe and comfortable, and I think I feel that way. So that drew me to using the ocean as that image.
So what about the film are you most proud of?
Um, I think it's a sensitive subject, and I think we were really able to get a lot of nuance in the acting. You know, I always feel like, oh, God, I could have done this better and this better and this better. But I was really proud of our actors, and Parminder did win a Best Actress award at the South African Indie Film Festival. And um, you know, and I don't think we see this brown women's stories enough, particularly when it comes to things like caretaking, you know, and in this way where there's this duality of you're so successful and you're probably wealthy, but on the inside you're kind of suffering, and that suffering is very difficult to talk about. And so I think both Parminder and V really portrayed that in a very sensitive and caring way.
So how did you figure out the casting for like these amazing actors?
Yeah, casting is always a difficult one. I had a terrific producer on board, I have to say, Rena Dutt, who comes from an acting background and directs a lot of theater herself. And she was like amazing with the casting. You know, and then Emily Schwaber, who's a casting director I've worked with in the past, helped us a little bit too. But Rena really had some good ideas, and she was really ambitious. And I was like, yeah, you know, and I had a friend who knew Parminder, and he was like, yeah, you should contact her. And so, you know, we weren't sure if she would do something like this, but she was excited to do it. So that was really nice.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So how did I notice when I was watching it that like silence was used very tactfully. So how did you figure that out?
Um, that's interesting. You know, I think that the movie is quite kind of a quiet movie in general. There's not I tried to keep the dialogue minimum, to a minimum, although then there in the middle, there's a lot of dialogue. But I think the actors really, in working with the actors and talking with the actors, we really found a nice pace for the movie. I didn't over direct them. I didn't tell them to be silent here. I really just kind of, what I did is I went to lunch with them, as I said, and I gave them a long backstory, and we talked a lot. And from there, I really just kind of let them, I guided by the shots and the imagery that I wanted, guided the emotion. So.
So with this like sensitive kind of topic, do you think that this is like a typical ending for people suffering from these kinds of illnesses?
I mean, it's a very difficult illness. And I think one of the things that's been very interesting for me is I've been traveling with the film all year and all virtually. And I've been in a lot of Asian American film festivals where there is this kind of, you know, I think in the Asian American community, there's a real duty to parents, and you don't feel good about leaving them in a care center. And I don't think anyone does, but I think in the Asian community, in a lot of, ethnic communities, it's just very frowned upon. But I think this character reaches a point where she knows she has to do what's right because it's not something that she can really deal with. And I think that is the case with Alzheimer's or any extremely advanced stage illness, that there's a point where the caregivers are really not able to manage. It's just a very complicated and, I mean, and even, to be frank, dangerous thing to have somebody with Alzheimer's and not get them the care that they need. So my goal in this, to make this film, honestly, was to spark a conversation about caregiving and where the gray area is in that.
So I know we were talking about the main character and how she is struggling in many areas. Why do you think you highlighted that?
I think that's just a part of life, and I think it's just very hard. I think sometimes juggling everything is not easy, and I think part of caregiving, sometimes people lose themselves in caring for a loved one who has an illness, and they tend to forget all the other things around them. It's not uncommon for that to happen. So that was sort of her subtext in the story that I really wanted to go off of.
I really like that part. It just added something right there.
Thank you.
So, what can we expect from you in the future?
I'm working on a few things. I mean, I've got a feature version of this that I'd like to make someday, and it's really about the two sisters, because in the movie she contacts her sister and her sister's not really available, and I'm writing and working on that, and I'm also doing some pitching in TV, so I don't know, we'll see. Fingers crossed.
What do you have anything else to say to our audience?
Just thank you for being film lovers and film watchers and supporters of independent cinema. I think it's really great, and I love the festival. It's really an awesome festival for filmmakers, so thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much for sitting down and talking with us.
Thank you.